FM, the Health and Wealth Radio Network. Get it straight from the expert's mouth on Ask the Experts with host Steve O. Every Thursday at 5 p.m. Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
Sometimes a family needs a little help to deal with life stresses. You can contribute to happy, healthy childhoods with a few simple steps. Notice families under stress. Offer a helping hand. Give your time. Talk about healthy child development. Connect a family with resources. Contributing to a great childhood can be as easy as being a good neighbor. For more, preventchildabusefl.org. This message is sponsored by the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Talk health, talk wealth, talk politics, talk 1470 and 95.3 FM, WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Welcome to your Hometown Health Show, brought to you by Trilogy Home Healthcare, the industry leader with over 30 years of experience in providing home healthcare services such as skilled nursing, physical and occupational therapy, home health aides, and other specialized care to your homes throughout the state. Please tune in every other week as we bring you a range of good information from specialists in the field to help make you more informed and living healthy.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to your Hometown Health Show. I'm Yolanda Santana, Service Manager with Tech One Solutions, an IT company in South Florida. And tonight we have the pleasure of having Dr. Suzanne Fuchs and Dr. Vishnu Sisharan of Lux Podiatry. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We also have Jane Garcia-Deal from Trilogy Home Health.
Hello.
So tonight we're here to introduce the doctors of Lux Podiatry and our listeners of Broward County and Palm Beach County to your practice. Would you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. I've been practicing podiatric medicine surgery for about 10 years. I opened my practice down here a little over 2 years ago with Dr. Sitran, and I came from New York. I was practicing up there for about 8 years before, and I'm originally from New York. I grew up on Long Island, but I love South Florida.
Yep. I actually trained up in New York about 10 years ago now. We trained together at North Shore LIJ. Up there I was the chief resident, and after graduation from residency, I started my own semi-practice up there for a while. Things were difficult up in New York because there's lots of competition, and it was a very interesting way to practice. I've been down here now for about 2.5 years, and a lot of it's just been quite an experience going from up there to down here. It's helped a lot. So.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm also originally from New York and grew up in Pennsylvania, so it's nice to have some northerners down here, although we love Florida. So where are you located?
Our office location is in Jupiter, but we have patients that come from all over Palm Beach County, North Palm Beach County mostly, but definitely we've had people make the trip up from Boca, even from Fort Lauderdale. There's some people, or Miami, because they find us for certain things that we specialize in that maybe the doctors down here don't. But we serve Palm Beach Gardens, Jupiter, Tequesta, even Hope Sound, Stewart, West Palm Beach. So.
Okay.
Yeah, even as far as like Belle Glade, because we've had patients drive from that distance, surprisingly, to come see us. A lot of it's via word of mouth, so if they want to get to you, they'll find the way.
Yeah, well, and you also do house calls as well.
Yes, we also do house calls.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
So what would you say is your primary demographic?
Really all pretty
ages?
much every age. Yeah, we see anywhere from infants. Mostly Dr. Citran sees kids under 13 or so, but we see everything and anything. So infants all the way to elderly patients. But most of our demos are about 35 to about 75. But I know that's a broad range, but we cover everybody.
So what would you say is unique about your practice? I mean, if people are coming from all over to see you guys, what's so unique about you?
Sure.
I think that stems back to our training, because most of what we trained at was a form of integrative medicine. So it was something where you're just not looking at the foot and ankle and the lower extremity, but from all the training we received, it was more an evaluation of your entire body. Like, for example, you may get a patient come in and they're complaining of a specific pain at one specific point in their foot, for instance, and via just an evaluation, and then you put them through like a gait evaluation, you find that their lower back is out of position, or sometimes their cervical spine and their neck may be somewhat off. And it's these little things that can be somewhat adjusted, and different ways it can be adjusted. It could be, a slight modification with their shoes, or sometimes even placing like an orthotic that's built in for their shoe, just to sort of aid with whatever the pathology is. But that's something where I think our approach is just not so much narrowed specifically to one site, but just making sure that we have something more all-encompassing for the patient. And then from that, we're able to draw a better conclusion.
Okay. It's really more holistic or integrative. It's looking at the whole patient rather than just saying, oh, you have a pain here, let me give you a shot or let me give you medication. It's really addressing the root of the problem. Right. There's more to it than I have a pain. Why do you have that pain? And a lot of doctors just don't get to the root cause. And so we're usually the second, third opinion people seek. I call it, we're the third opinion, second opinion. We're the doctor's doctor. People know to come to us because they trust us to look at everything rather than just cover up the symptoms.
Right. Okay. What services do you provide? Surgical, non-surgical?
Yeah, we do both. We do a lot of surgical. Our surgical procedures range from anything from kind of what we say the bread and butter, which is really bunions, hammer toes. We do fracture, if somebody comes in with a trauma, ankle sprain, surgery fractures, those are kind of like the most common surgical. We also do non-surgical procedures for, say, plantar fasciitis, which is pain usually in the arch or the heel. So we can do different types of injections. We really rarely do cortisone injections anymore at this point. We do things like amniotic stem cell injections, PRP, and some other things that we do that are a little more holistic or natural rather than using medications.
Yeah, that's something I think where when we see the patient, we discuss with them exactly what the different treatment options are, because to jump in to a patient when you're seeing them initially and tell them that you need surgical correction right now, it's not that simple sometimes. So
and I think mostly these days people are looking for non-surgical answers, or minimally, which we can talk about later, but more minimally invasive, non-invasive treatments, which have come out more recently. And it's just a matter of really, again, addressing the whole patient, talking to the patient, seeing what their lifestyle is like, not just choosing what maybe we would think. It's not cookie cutter. It really depends on the person and their lifestyle and what they want.
Okay. What insurance do you accept?
We actually accept Medicare. We accept lots of different Medicaids. We also accept a lot of commercial insurances, but everybody, they'd have to call to see if there's specific insurance, because there's so many commercial insurances out there. Yeah. But if somebody calls us, we can definitely see what they have and if we accept it. But we also, if we don't and they pay self-pay, our prices are very fair, affordable, and we're very transparent with everything.
Okay, great. And so how can someone reach you?
They can call our office. They can find us in so many ways. They can call our office. They can find us on Facebook, our website, Instagram. We're everywhere. LinkedIn.
What's your website?
It's www.luxepodiatry.com. That's LUXE podiatry.com.
Also, we have a number of patients that tend to email prior to even coming in, just asking generalized questions. And again, they could use the email if they want as well.
That's great.
Yeah, we're easily accessible.
Okay.
So email is fine too. A lot of questions we cannot fully answer on email, but they can contact us that way too.
And what's your phone number?
It's 561-619-3557.
Perfect. Okay. So let's get into a little bit of the latest trending topics in podiatry and some of the latest modalities that you're using or that you see people using.
Sure. I think one of the a major topic of discussion, has, at least in what we do, is minimally invasive. And for me, minimally invasive really means more, not necessarily smaller incisions, although a lot of times that is smaller as well. It really means less swelling, less pain, less time to recover, less trauma to the tissues. So really knowing the surgical technique and there's some newer techniques that we've been trained in, can really help decrease all of that. It's not just about minimal incision. It really is about technique and how to handle the tissues. And there's certain things, again, that we've been trained in, especially when it comes to bunions and hammer toes, because we really believe in, of course, helping with pain, but also having a good aesthetic results. So not just about pain, but we also look at, everybody, especially in South Florida, they care a lot about how things look too, because we're wearing a lot of open toe shoes.
Yeah.
Especially women, but men too. So the scarring we try to decrease, and
recovery
time to recovery.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's from the knee down, correct? Because some people think it's just a foot, just the toes.
That's a really good point. So we treat soft tissue. So every state is a little bit different for podiatry. In the state of Florida, we could treat soft tissue from the hip and below, and bone below the knee.
Okay.
So, in Florida, there's a lot that we could treat. And again, we also do ankle fracture surgery, ankle sprains, things like that.
Yeah, I think that's like a misnomer with podiatry from years ago, because a lot of the older podiatrists were trained differently many years ago. Mm-hmm. But with the expansion of residencies into more hospital systems, they've had to incorporate the podiatry staff or residents into the general surgery or internal medicine, and all of a sudden, depending on which state you go to, you end up training and practicing a little differently. Because if you go to some place like Michigan, I believe, you can do hand surgery, and if you go to other places, it's very varied. So we're trained, for everything just in case, and wherever you end up is, what you end up focusing on. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the biggest change in your field in the past 20 years?
You kind of touched on that already.
Yeah. I guess there's two things with it. A lot of it from 20 years ago, there's definitely been more of a emphasis maybe on surgical correction with time, and expansion of the types of surgery done. So you'll find some podiatrists doing more complex, lower extremity issues, where they're doing surgery on the upper part of the leg and getting closer to the hip. But then also the other portion is that there's been an expansion from 20 years ago in terms of knowledge of medicine. So a lot of the patients we see have multiple medical conditions. So that can range from dysfunctioning thyroid, diabetes, things like cancer, because these things actually have an effect on the skin and the bone down there. Mm-hmm. And you can get ramifications where you get the patient with almost an example would be melanoma. And that's something that's, stems from further up. It just depends when you catch it, what stage it's at, and how far it's progressed, really. And I think that's actually more an important thing, actually having that ability to identify medicine-wise exactly what's going on. So training-wise from 20 years ago, that's the biggest thing. I think the step-wise, that it's improved so much in medicine that, again, we have a far greater knowledge of what's going on with the patient all around.
And there's more collaboration with the other physicians as well, like orthos and stuff with you guys, versus you stay in your lane type of thing.
Yeah, if you're able to discuss it with the other, the internist or the endocrinologist, being able to discuss and identify what's going on, it makes everything flow a little easier, especially for the patient. And that's what's most important for them. So if you're able to catch something that maybe the endocrinologist wasn't really thinking about, that helps them. Mm-hmm. If they see something, they'll let us know, and it goes both ways. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. So I want to delve a little bit more into your experience and your training, but first we're going to take a quick break. Before that, I want to let everyone know, if you're interested in asking them questions, you can reach us at 1-888-565-1470. We're on WWNN, Facebook Live, 95.3 FM, 1470 AM, and we'll be right back.
If a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Have you ever felt that your voice goes unheard? And you think that you can make a difference if only someone would just listen? It's time for women in business to have a place to step into your power, a platform to embrace your hopes, dreams, and your visions, a voice to heal and restore. Your voice can make a difference. We have the platform to share your story and let your voice be heard. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself the chance to be heard and shine bright. Contact New Dawn Media by texting CAFE to 80800. That's CAFE to 80800.
And then being
Hello, welcome back. Again, I'm Yolanda Santana, the host of your show, your Hometown Health Show. And again, we have Dr. Sisharan and Dr. Fuchs from Lux Podiatry. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Jane Garcia-Deal from Trilogy Home Healthcare.
Hello.
So we're going to continue talking about your experience and what led you to choose podiatry. Dr. Fuchs, you want to take that?
Okay, I'll start. So I was always really active, especially like young teenage years, fitness and sports. And I actually had a bout of, I didn't know at the time exactly what it was, but plantar fasciitis, which is that heel pain and arch pain. And it was just so painful. It took me out of sports and running for at least a week. I can't remember exactly the time, but at the time, and I realized if your feet are in pain or there's a problem with them, that just puts you out of everything, of commission. It's hard to walk and you're miserable. So that's one of the reasons that sort of led me. There's a few reasons that came together, but that sort of led me into podiatry. But before that, I was always interested in possibly medicine or physical therapy. So.
Okay. Yeah. Glad you chose podiatry.
Me too.
I hope my story's not too odd or anything, but when I was much younger, big basketball fan, so back then I used to root for the Indianapolis Pacers, and one of their players was a 7'4", center, Rick Smits, and he had chronic foot issues back then, and it was constantly a thing every season. It was something where he was out for plantar fasciitis, he was out for Achilles pain, heel pain, just general foot pain, leg pain, constantly, every other game. And a few years later, I found out that the podiatrist I was treating at the time, what happened was he was treating after the orthos had treated him initially. And they hadn't really evaluated the seriousness of the condition because he was imbalanced essentially with his gait. And they did multiple surgeries prior to the podiatrist getting to him. And once the podiatrist got to him, he actually was able to make him a custom molded type of shoe and orthotic.
Wow.
And this altered his game so dramatically he was able to play, I think, pretty much injury-free the last 4 or 5 years of his career.
Wow.
And the podiatrist that treated him, it was a Dr. Patrick DeHeer, and I had the pleasure of meeting him last year. And when I spoke to him about this and asked him about all this, it was seeing
That's cool.
his insight, how he was able to distinguish what was going on with him. And that had such a big influence on me when I was little, because I was like, how was this missed for so many years? And he had so much surgical correction, all of it had failed, and then something that simple ended up being the solution. And again, when I met Dr. DeHeer last year, it was just speaking to him, it was just something where it's like you have to look at everything and make sure that you understand and have a basic knowledge of everyone's gait and how they function, because each individual functions a little differently. And that's how he was able to find a solution. That had an influence on me, and that led me to get into this profession.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
So how, I'm going to jump around here. How do you know the show's sponsor, Trilogy Home Healthcare?
We've actually worked with them several times. We've had a lot of mutual patients. And for us, we actually send patients to Trilogy for physical therapy at home, because it's all home care. So physical therapy at home for patients who can't maybe get out of their home, or they just recently had an injury, or they were in the hospital before, or had surgery. So there's several reasons that we have so far really trusted Trilogy. They have great therapists and visiting nurse.
Thank you.
That's great. Okay, so if people listening to the show tonight want to reach out to you, would you let them know again how to reach you? Do you take appointments, walk-ins, etc.?
Yes, people usually call us. We don't usually have walk-ins, but if there were somebody who needed to walk in, that would be fine too. Again, that location is in Jupiter. But for appointments, they can call us, again, email us. They can call us at 561-619-3557. You can email for an appointment. Calling's probably the best, so we can figure out the best time. Mm-hmm. And again, if they have insurance or if they don't. But Facebook, they can check out our website at www.luxpodiatry.com. And we're also on Instagram, Twitter, all social media.
Goodness. Okay.
So you can always ask a question there too. We get a lot of Facebook messages.
All right. Great. So I'm going to open it back up. Again, if you want to ask our doctors a question, the number is 1-888-565-1470. I have a question.
Sure.
I had bunion surgery many years ago. I'm not going to say how long ago. The doctor said, I'll probably never run a marathon, probably never run again. And I did, like you said, it was 6 weeks apart because I wanted to work.
Right.
So I'd recover, work.
It's painful too, I understand.
It is painful, yeah. And it's coming on probably about 20 years, maybe, in a few years. People that get that, do they have to redo the surgery? What is the time frame on something like that?
I could feel this one. It depends on the level of the bone at which the surgery was performed, because when you look at bunion surgery in general, you're looking at the head of the bone, the middle of the bone, and essentially the base. If the procedure is being done at the head of the bone, you're talking about faster healing period. As you go further back, it takes longer to heal. In terms of having to redo the surgery, if you don't have the definitive procedure done at the time, there's always a possibility. And the thing is that when the surgery is done, you're actually sort of measuring out angles to see where the center of deformity actually lies. And again, the head, shaft, and the base. The further back, the worse it is. And usually, when you try to do a definitive procedure, most of the procedures do tend to be mid-shaft or at the base. Mm-hmm. And for us, I think recurrence rates with bunions almost 0%. Because a lot of it's just identifying where the issue is coming from. Also, the age of the patient really matters too. Mm-hmm. The older the patient, you can get away with maybe a little less of a procedure because they're probably going to have as much change moving forward. The younger you are, you have to be very cautious because you need something much more dramatic than sometimes you might expect.
Right.
Yeah, and it depends on, in terms of healing time. Usually, now it's different because there's different types of hardware and things like that we could use to help speed up the healing. But it usually depends how far back you have to go in terms of, if it's towards the front of your foot or the toes or the back of your foot, on how long it takes to heal. So, and you want to make sure that, again, like Dr. Citron was saying, that you address the root of the problem. So if you don't, or unfortunately there's some surgeons that how do I say this? That don't really know how to do certain procedures, and they know maybe the patient needs a certain procedure, but they don't know how to do that procedure, and they wind up doing one that they isn't right, say, for the patient, because they don't know how to do the other one, which they should say, oh, I need this, you need this procedure, maybe you should go to somebody else, but they don't. And sometimes patients will get the bunion back. They'll say, the bunion returned because the reason was because they didn't have the right procedure in the first place. There's over 100 ways to actually correct a bunion. So you really need to know what's the right procedure for that patient.
Also, a lot of the patients after the surgery, depends what type of activity you go back to. If you're coming in initially wearing very high heels and you developed a really bad bunion and you have the procedure done and then you expect to go right back into the high heels.
Oh no, I just go to the nail salon and get it done. But at the nail salon, I try to explain to them they don't get their gait and balance checked. You know, they might not have a foot issue that they can see, but they're falling all the time. So you guys can really assess that gait and balance.
Yeah, when patients come to us, it's never just for, like, they say nail care or getting their nails. No, we're looking, again, at the whole patient. So we're doing a full examination, lower body, you know, even the upper body, depending on we ask their medical history, the medications they're on, the allergies. So you're getting like a medical exam. And then maybe if you need certain type of nail procedure done, we do that.
Gotcha.
And that, you know, usually, depending on what it is, it could be covered by insurance or not. That just depends on the patient's insurance and what they're getting done. But it's totally different than going just to a nail salon.
Right.
And that's a whole other
Getting a pedicure,
a whole other episode on pedicures, because we've seen a lot of infections in all ages, not just older people that come into our office, whether it's bacterial infections, cellulitis, or fungal infections
or
from
an nail or something. Yeah. Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, thank you.
I have someone text me a question.
Sure. Oh, wow.
What should a person who's on their feet all day look for in a shoe or boot?
You want me to leave that?
Sure.
Well, it depends on the patient, really, but yeah, it's a tough one because it depends on their foot type to begin with. Usually, if the patient's on their foot quite a bit, I do recommend like slightly stiffer shoe wear in terms of the sole. If you have a lot of bending action in the sole, it's going to allow the foot to, instead of functioning as one unit, maybe function as like separate units in like two different ways. And that could cause a lot more strain moving up towards the upper part of the body. So at the very least, I would say a stiffer type of shoe, a stiffer sole.
Stiffer sole, okay.
Again, it depends on their foot type, though. They might require something in the counter or the vamp of the shoe, and that varies.
Yeah, not every shoe is made for every foot. So it would be good for that person to have an exam. You know, we really take into consideration their foot type, like their foot structure, and how they walk and what they do if they're on their feet all day.
At the very least, just start with a stiffer sole shoe right away, just to see the change.
It's kind of universal.
And what shoe fit is most important? Like the width, the length? I mean, women, we wear sometimes a half a size longer just to fit into those pointed
or
toe
smaller
shoes.
That's
I think, I mean, it's all important, but most people get the right length. As you get older, you figure out what length, but the width is very important, because if you're in a really tight shoe all day, that could literally deform your feet and cause bunions and hammer toes and things like that. So I think the width, I would say, is
Okay. Well, we're getting to the end of our show. One more time, would you let our audience know how they can get a hold of you?
Sure. They can give us a call at 561-619-3557. Check out our website at www.luxpodiatry.com. And you can also email or go on Facebook at Lux Podiatry.
Welcome. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Again, this was Dr. Suzanne Fuchs and Dr. Vishnu Sesharan of Lux Podiatry. I'm Yolanda Santana. This is
Jane from Trilogy Home Health.
Garcia Deal, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Trilogy Home Healthcare invites you to call our offices before making a decision about your home health and rehabilitative care. Different from other agencies, Trilogy offers specialized service that other agencies don't, providing exceptional care. That's who we are and what we do. Call us at 866-599-4959 or go to trilogyhomehealthcare.com.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of